First, I'm taking some measurements based on the size of this tray, which is what will sit in the bottom of the entire contraption. This tray is 10 inches by 20 inches and 2 inches deep with no holes. I'm using 3/4 inch plywood, and instead of using a table saw, I'm using a circular saw because recently I've become pretty terrified of table saws considering the amount of surgical patients I see with injuries from them. Once I have my base, I'm going to make some 45-degree cuts with my chop saw to create a box around the base. For this, I'm just using pine that's about 1.5 by 2.5 inches. Some of you may have seen the making of my indoor garden video, and if you have, you may be wondering why I'm making this mini grow light stand, and it's because every year my family does a homemade grab bag gift for Christmas, and this was my gift. As opposed to creating something purely for functionality, this was a project that I wanted to not only be functional, but also aesthetically pleasing. So you'll see eventually how I make it look nice and party. I'm just finishing up the final cuts for the box portion and making sure everything is lining up properly. Now I'm putting down a drop cloth type napkin to protect my workbench. And in hindsight, I should have used these little pyramid type things that I don't have, but they basically elevate your project on a small point to allow it to dry underneath, because now I'm gonna lather it up in some wood glue. Since this will not be bearing much weight, I decided that the wood glue would suffice for durability without any hardware. So I'm just putting glue in all the cracks and crevices, and then I will allow it to dry overnight. As you can see, those pyramids would have been nice because there are remnants of the napkin on the bottom of my project, but I'll just go ahead and sand it off. Whatever areas I can't get with the belt sander, I'll just hand sand, and I'm just trying to make it look nice and smooth. Now I'm just trying to eyeball exactly where the light is going to sit above the base. I wanted to design it so that the light can be adjustable in case you want to grow taller microgreens like wheatgrass or pea shoots. So I took some measurements, and now I'm starting to make cuts for where the light will hang from. Again, this is something I want to look nice, so I'm sanding off any print that's on the boards and smoothing out all the edges. This is me trying to remember how to do long division. And now I'm securing these boards onto the back of the box. One thing I will recommend is if you do go buy lumber, always check to see how bowed the pieces are, because even a slight bow in the boards will change the whole dynamic of your project. So always try to buy straight boards. I drilled my pilot holes and put two 2.5-inch deck screws through each side. I'm using my level to make sure they are straight up and down and sitting at exactly 90-degree angles. Okay, now that those are secured, I'm cutting 2 small triangles to use as right angles. Then I'm securing those right angles with wood glue to the top of the 2 boards that I just secured to the box, and that will provide some stability for the next boards I'm going to place. I always let any wood glue dry overnight, and now I'm making cuts for the next two pieces and sanding them smooth. For these boards, since they will be helping to hold the light, I'm going to use wood glue and secure it with screws. I don't want there to be any risk of this falling apart. Even though the light is pretty light in weight, the more durable, the longer it will last. Next, I'll drill a couple pilot holes and place these screw eyes on my horizontal board where the light will hang from. And then I'll flip the whole thing over to give myself a little more leverage to secure that final board. And here is the true test. By the way, this light is a T5 fluorescent from Amazon. It's perfect for microgreens, and I will provide the link in the description. Now that I know that it functions properly, I'll make it look pretty. First, I'll fill in the cracks and cover the screw heads with wood filler. And that needs to dry overnight as well. This can be applied kind of sloppy because then I'll sand it flush with the boards. Okay, this is the following day. I'll take my handheld cordless orbital sander with about 150 grit sandpaper, something pretty fine, and I'll just go over the entire contraption, and I'm just getting it all ready to apply some kind of color to it, because remember, the key to good adhesion is a well-prepped, clean surface. As you can see, I started to stain it and then I realized I didn't like it, so the next day I came back with a different idea inspired by Bob Ross, and I painted it instead. Once I let that dry, I put a coat of polyurethane on it for the final touches. I mentioned that the bottom tray is 2 inches deep and has no holes. The top tray will have holes and is only 1 inch deep and will sit right inside that other tray. And there you have it, a space where your seeds can grow into microgreen seedlings and you can nourish your body with the wonders of plants. If you want to learn how to grow microgreens, check out my video, How to Grow Microgreens. Thanks for watching.